everything you can do with executive authority, or is there more you could do absent legislation?
Not all I can do. Give me the power. I've asked for the very day I got in office. Give me the border patrol. Give me the people. Give me the people, the judges. Give me the people who can stop this and make it work right.
House Speaker Mike Johnson, meanwhile, said this on X, quote, "That is simply untrue. Biden is either lying or misinformed. No more excuses." Johnson also listed 4 different powers that Biden could use right now to fix the border. Florida Senator Rick Scott is blaming fellow Republican Mitch McConnell for the Senate border negotiations, accusing the minority leader of undermining GOP voters. Senator Scott writes this in a new op-ed. "McConnell is preserving a Republican Party in Washington that has completely lost touch with our voters and the real world." Joining me right now to talk more about all of this is Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson, member of the Senate Homeland Security, Budget and Finance Committees. Senator, it's good to see you. Thanks so much for being here this morning.
Morning, Maria. Happy to be here.
All right, so you are on the Senate Homeland Security Committee. Have you seen the text of the Lankford bill on the border, and what is your assessment of it?
Not one word of it.
Wow.
We've been, they talk about it in generalities. We've seen things leaked. Our staff has been briefed by leadership staff. What we've been briefed on is definitely concerning. But let me just say that President Biden is completely full of it. He had all the executive authority he needed, and he used it to dismantle all the successful programs that President Trump had in place that secured the border. President Biden wants an open border. He is the root cause of the current catastrophe, the current clear and present danger to this nation. He caused this. And for him to sit there and say, I need more authority. No, you have all the authority you need. Speaker Johnson is laying it all out there. The Supreme Court has ruled on this. He says that, the section 2112F of the Immigration Nationalization Act, it exudes deference to the president. So the problem that Republican negotiators have had is we are dealing with an administration and Democrats here in Congress who want an open border that caused this crisis. It's again like negotiating with the arsonist to put out the fire they started.
It's unbelievable. Senator, I remember back in 2014 when then President Obama said that 1,000 people coming across the border illegally is a humanitarian crisis. But now your colleague in the Senate is working on a plan that would allow 4,500 or 5,000 illegals a day before anybody can do anything about it. That's what is speculated. That's in. I know you haven't seen the text.
Right, but when you're setting these thresholds after 5,000 entries a day, I mean, President Trump never had to deal with 5,000 people a day. He kept it under that, and then within 12 months, it was down to 572 people a day. So this is an order of magnitude worse. So 10,000 people per day in December. But when you set a threshold that you're not going to close the border down until you hit 5,000 a day, and then at 4,000, I guess it's discretionary whether the president can do that. My concern is that you put into law, you codify the fact that a president can't act until the entry reaches 4,000 a day. That's going to normalize 45,000 people a day. That would be a catastrophe. And as Jay Johnson, who's Obama's Homeland Security Secretary, that said 1,000 a day overwhelmed the system. So why would we be setting thresholds at 4,000 and 5,000 a day is beyond me.
Well, I mean, the national security issues are real. I mean, we know that there have been, how many people just in the last year, 50, 60 people who are on the terrorist watch list who have been apprehended. Those are the people who have been apprehended. We don't know about the gotaways, who's in this country, who's also on the terrorist watch list, who got in undetected. But CIA Director William Burns is out with an op-ed for Foreign Affairs, and he's urging the United States to provide more money to Ukraine, warning that if we were to cut off support to Ukraine, it would be an own goal of historic proportions. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul joined the program last week, warning that President Biden's national security funding request is out of line. Watch this.
The other thing that's going to happen in this Ukraine bill is there's going to be $11 billion worth of humanitarian assistance. Some of that goes to Ukraine, but some of that's going to Gaza. And it's not clear exactly how much is going to go to the Palestinians, but who's going to have to pay for it. They expect us to pay for it, and I don't want a penny going to Hamas or to any of these people. Look, I have great sympathy for those who live in Gaza and the mess that they're in, and I wish it would stop, but I don't think we should always have to pay for everything. When do we become the sugar daddy of the world?
Well, it's just incredible, Senator. Is that also a must-have in this Senate border deal, that you got to have money to Ukraine? Walk us through what some of your colleagues are thinking with this new deal.
Well, first of all, none of us has seen a word of text. At least those of us that aren't involved in negotiations, we haven't seen a word of text on any of this, not of the funding supplementals, nor of the border bill. And so we really don't have the information we need to really make a case. But again, what we've seen is alarming. And I would just say the priorities are just wrong. I think the priorities of Mitch McConnell are wrong. I think the priorities of the President Biden and Chuck Schumer are wrong. They're more concerned about Ukraine and protecting its border than our own. We obviously have a crisis at our southwest border. It is a clear and present danger to America. When FBI Director Wray says that all the warning signs are flashing, that the threat from foreign terrorist organizations are as high as they've been since 9/11, if not higher. How do you think foreign terrorist fighters would get into this country? Through our porous southwest border. 6 million people have come in since Biden became president. 2 million is gotaways.
Yeah.
We have no idea who most of these people are or where they are.
So,
could they be sleeper cells? We don't know.
I mean, Mitch McConnell is a Republican. Is this about him hating Trump? I know he hates Trump the most of anybody I've heard. He's told people, I hate him more than anybody. Is it because he hates Trump, or is it because he just is just hell-bent on getting money to Ukraine and he doesn't care what it means for the U.S. border?
I have no idea, and he fully supports funding Ukraine. My frustration with the leader is that in conference we repeatedly talked about how this is a lawless president, and if there's going to be some deal on the border, we have to have some forcing mechanism, some enforcement to make sure that he actually carries through on the agreement.
Right.
And so my suggestion was tie the funding to Ukraine to metrics, to thresholds that the president has to meet in securing the border.
Yeah.
And what we were told is that McConnell told Langford, the negotiator, it's not even on the table.
Wow.
And Senator Sinema said James Langford never even asked her for it. So that certainly didn't make me happy, because we discussed that repeatedly. There was a lot of support for that in the conference, and then Mitch McConnell on his own decided that wasn't even going to be part of the negotiation. The real key piece of leverage we needed to actually have a bill that would secure the border, not provide immigration reform and amnesty and benefits for people coming in here. I mean, this is absurd.
Do you think they'll have the votes? Will they pass this regardless of your views?
Well, it certainly doesn't sound like they would even bring it up in the House. And again, I can't really say, because I haven't seen a word of language.
Of course,
If this was such a good deal, why not trust the American public? The American public wants a secure border. If this bill actually did it, show the American people, show senators, show House members.
All we keep hearing is Senator Langford saying, don't believe what you read on the internet. Okay, so then what's in it then? Hunter Biden's former business associate, meanwhile, Eric Schwerin, testified before the House Oversight and Judiciary Committees yesterday. He said, according to what we're hearing from Democrats, Joe Biden was not involved in Hunter's business deals. He did testify that he provided Joe with free financial services while he was working with Hunter. Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer wrote this on X. Then Vice President Joe Biden interacted often with Biden family associate Eric Schwerin and received free professional services from him. It is unethical for the vice president to receive gifts of this nature. Senator, your thoughts on what the Oversight and Judiciary Committee are doing, picking up where you left off in your years-long investigation into potential criminality of the Biden family?
Well, they obviously have to have the documents. They have to have the emails. They have to have the bank records. And then they have to ask hard questions about the details of those things. I know that Eric Schwerin in January 2017 wrote an email to Hunter Biden reminding him that there was $400,000 of Burisma income that he hadn't reported. So he was obviously, fully aware of what was happening within the Biden finances. And, 27 emails after Joe Biden went to Ukraine in June of 2014 through November, that's an awful lot of contact with a financial advisor that, apparently just doesn't know that much about your financial dealings. Yeah. So, again, it's hard to believe these people. They're probably pretty smart. They probably don't put things in writing, but you just have to follow the money.
Well, you talk about 27 emails after the June 2015 trip to Ukraine. There were also 20-plus emails before the trip. All around the trip to Ukraine, there were more than 50 emails between Joe Biden and Eric Schwerin, one-on-one emails, and he was using different pseudonyms. So we know that, Senator.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's pretty suspicious. Senator Grasso and I have been asking the White House and the National Archives for those emails from about 4 or 5 different pseudonyms he used. Why is he doing that? is he conducting official business on private email accounts like Hillary Clinton did, knowing full well that that's against the law? So no, I mean, President Biden just flouts the law. He's a lawless president. This is a lawless administration, and just like on the border, you can't trust this guy to, first of all, tell you the truth, much less carry out any agreement you may reach with him.
This Senate border deal, do you think I know it's dead in the House, so it dies. What will you dig in and not give money to Ukraine until you see some security changes at the border?
Well, that was our position months ago. But again, Leader McConnell, I think, a completely failed negotiation strategy. This should have been all done in public. Yeah. The American public wants a secure border. Talk, say, okay, you want funding for Ukraine. This is what we need in terms of border security, and not be negotiating immigration reforms with Democrats. Yeah. Again, Democrats are negotiating for political cover, not for border security.
And after all, we've already had 8 to 10 million on Joe Biden's watch. Why are you compromising? Just say you've done it. We want Remain in Mexico back. We want the security in place. Senator, thanks very much for walking us through it. We appreciate it, and we will talk soon. Thank you, sir.